Nine Robes is a new podcast that digests U.S. Supreme Court opinions with objectivity into nonpartisan, factual summaries. Here you'll hear a summary of the case, the facts, and why it matters. These summaries are generated by AI. Be careful and consult reputable sources when in doubt. In a recent Supreme Court case, Murray vs. UBS Securities, the justices made an important decision regarding whistleblowers. The case focused on the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which protects employees who report wrongdoing in their companies. The court ruled that whistleblowers do not have to prove that their employer intended to retaliate against them. Instead, they only need to show that their actions, like reporting misconduct, played a role in any negative treatment they faced at work. This ruling overturned a previous decision from the Second Circuit Court, which had required proof of retaliatory intent. The Supreme Court's decision means that whistleblowers have a clearer path to seek justice when they face backlash for speaking up. Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote the majority opinion, and she was joined by several other justices, including Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This case highlights the importance of protecting those who stand up against wrongdoing in the workplace. It sends a strong message that employees should feel safe to report issues without fear of losing their jobs or facing other forms of retaliation. The court's decision is a significant step in supporting whistleblowers and ensuring that their voices are heard. The case of Murray v. UBS Securities, LLC, arose from Trevor Murray's claim that UBS terminated his employment in violation of the whistleblower protections established by the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. Murray, who worked as a research strategist, alleged that he was fired after reporting unethical and potentially illegal practices by UBS executives that pressured him to alter his independent research reports. The district court initially ruled in favor of Murray, allowing the jury to determine whether his whistleblowing was a contributing factor to his termination. However, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals reversed this decision, asserting that Murray needed to prove UBS acted with retaliatory intent, a requirement not explicitly stated in the statute. The Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision delivered by Justice Sotomayor, held that a whistleblower under Section 1514A of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act must demonstrate that their protected activity was a contributing factor in the adverse employment action, but is not required to prove that the employer acted with retaliatory intent. The court emphasized that the statutory text does not include a requirement for proving retaliatory intent, and the burden-shifting framework established by Congress is designed to be plaintiff. The court clarified that discriminate in the context of the statute refers to differential treatment based on protected whistleblowing activity, and the absence of animus or retaliatory intent does not absolve an employer from liability if the whistleblower can show that their protected activity contributed to the adverse action. The court reversed the Second Circuit's ruling, which had imposed an additional burden on whistleblowers, and remanded the case for further proceedings consistent with its opinion. Justice Alito, joined by Justice Barrett, filed a concurring opinion. While agreeing with the court's conclusion that retaliatory intent is not a requirement, Alito emphasized the importance of proving that the adverse employment action was made because of the protected conduct. He reiterated that the statute's burden-shifting framework still necessitates a showing of intent to discriminate, albeit not in the form of animus. There were no dissenting opinions in this case. The decision was unanimous. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act's whistleblower protection provisions were enacted to encourage employees to report corporate misconduct without fear of retaliation. The law establishes a burden-shifting framework where the whistleblower must first demonstrate that their protected activity was a contributing factor in the adverse employment action. If successful, the burden then shifts to the employer to prove, by clear and convincing evidence, that the same action would have been taken regardless of the whistleblowing. The court's interpretation underscores the legislative intent to protect whistleblowers by lowering the burden of proof required to establish a claim. The absence of a retaliatory intent requirement aligns with the broader goal of fostering an environment where employees feel safe to report wrongdoing. This decision clarifies the legal landscape for whistleblower claims, ensuring that employers cannot evade liability simply by asserting a lack of animus, thus reinforcing the protective framework intended by Congress. Nine Robes provides AI summaries of U.S. Supreme Court cases. AI makes mistakes. People make mistakes too. We genuinely do our best to provide you with the most accurate summaries, but our best sometimes includes errors.